Alright everyone, Tim Pool apparently got a content strike, and that of course comes with various penalties for your account. Oh, you're not in quite good enough standing for us, you did something wrong, so we're going to punish you for extended periods of time. Number one, I do call on YouTube to reverse this. I think the particular content there that I saw that could be construed, I guess, kind of is against TOS. It doesn't even have to do with his opinion. It's like a 10-second long graphic. And really, a lot of other videos have stuff like that. And even if they get flagged, they get put to like 18 plus, which is a routine thing for anyone that talks about society and politics. It doesn't get it actually removed. And usually there's deference shown. In this case, it wasn't. I think it's PR-wise, it's a bad move. Because there are a lot of people who like Tim Pool's work. Now, of course, link in the description. You can look at his Twitter there on Timcast, actually. And he's got the status sort of explaining what happened. What it was is a video regarding the Florida shooting. And specifically, the fact that it looks like there was a prank, a fairly elaborate prank played, in which the ADL was, hoodwinked into thinking that the individual who was responsible was, a total ethno-nationalist. It turns out that's actually not true. There are still people pretending that he was. That's not true. It's not actually the case. What happened is that the leader of this one, I guess, really, really obscure ethno-nationalistic group tried to claim credit sort of as a joke, then disclaimed it. But then by the time that sort of emerged as, hey, it's just a prank, bro, it had already been fed, but the ADL had picked it up off 4chan, actually, fed it to the AP and all these other groups, and they spread it like wildfire. And by the time he could respond and say, well, I was joking, I don't know anything about this dude, it was a little bit too late. But what the inclusion was, I think, and I told Tim this, I think specifically the reason why it got flagged, successfully, was on BitChute it's mirrored, so you can watch it there. Again, it's right in his Twitter feed there. On BitChute, I watched the video because I didn't want to just randomly back someone and then I find out, oh, there actually was something in there that was totally off the wall. Not that I expected that, but it's a good thing for creators to use BitChute for automatic backup or whatever, or to use some other site to back their work up. Because it really is helpful when others are trying to defend them, because then they can refer to things directly. At 3 minutes and 33 seconds, roughly, until the end of the video, for some reason it inverts the timer on BitChute sometimes, or all the time, or I'm not exactly sure about that particular functionality, a little mysterious. But there's a post by this, this white nationalist, I guess, leader, in which he goes off into sort of a, let's say, a little bit of an ethnically charged rant, to put it finely. And having that up on screen, here's a tip to, creators who make controversial content. Don't ever use graphics in that manner unless they're squeaky clean. Because unless those graphics are G-rated, that for some reason saying something is judged as less inappropriate than showing it as someone else has written it in text somewhere and you're showing a picture of it. I have noticed that. If you look at Limited State, there are videos that are ultimately kind of innocuous there, that have that kind of content. Now, I'm wondering why YouTube didn't put it in Limited State, to tell the truth. If it was truly concerned about this graphic, it's not the uploader saying something wrong. It's not a substantial proportion of the video. It's not even really using slurs. It's just that sort of borderline offensive style. It's like a Brother Nathaniel comment. Well, he's got a bunch of Limited State videos, but his account is still there. Meanwhile, Timcast, who's ultimately is Tim Pool, when you think of people being like really, really out there, Reggie, and having problems maintaining their presence because they constantly run afoul of TOS. Is Tim Pool one of the people on the list, or is he essentially just an actual journalist who likes free speech a lot? That's the latter. He's not exactly the next Joseph Goebbels or something. So I would say that this should be reversed. I understand maybe, and I'm not even 100% sure, but I understand how theoretically that one graphic could be construed as against TOS, but it could also be construed as on that borderline that usually results in, well, we used restricted mode and you can't monetize the video. The thing is, everyone's used to that. Like, I wouldn't even want to know. If I were to enable monetization in ads, What proportion of my videos would even be fucking eligible at this point? You know, you can't even say hell or something like that and have it available for all advertisers, which means for somebody like me who likes to speak my mind, it'd be worthless. Tim Pool, meanwhile, who is, I think, more mild than me in his content overall, I think that would be a fair judgment. He's getting a strike for somebody else's material that's on there for a few seconds to illustrate his response. Well, how is that different from him, you know, reading it as a quote and not showing a graphic? How is it any different? Well, I'm assuming, I think, the way he explained it, it looks like YouTube automatically struck it down and then, you know, on appeal they upheld it. I have to assume that YouTube then looks at the visuals of videos too and saw, you know, what had been said in this graphic, scrolled through it and marked it for, you know, oh, this video is inappropriate. It's obviously like a Nazi video. The problem being that it timestamps it, sends it off upon review. The real person sees it, oh, you know, and this, you know, who knows even who's reviewing it, you know, when the algorithms do this, and decides, no, it has to be taken down. I wonder if it was the fact that he criticized the ADL. To tell the truth, I'm wondering if that's why instead of being put in limited state or being restored but in a restricted sort of, well, it's 18 plus, no ads on it because it's iffy. I'm wondering if the reason why those were forsaken and it was simply kept down was because of his criticism, not of the lamestream media. You know, I criticize the lamestream media all the time. There's nothing really that they do about it. I think sometimes they'll enjoy the attention since they're not getting it on cable anymore. Now, they're certainly not getting it from, you know, their aging, quickly dying off cable audience. So I have to assume it was one of these NGOs. And I think, oddly enough, and this sort of countermands the concept that he's dog whistling to the ethno-nationalists or something before someone brings it up. He's mentioning the SPLC, actually pointing out that they weren't aware of any of these connections between the shooter and this group either. So, you know, even the SPLC is saying, well, you know, we're not so sure that this is actually true. It's been claimed. We're not seeing any evidence of it other than the leader of this group, you know, maybe jokingly said that it was true. Okay, so again, it's very funny because these groups so often, they trust some fanatic at their word, and this is a person who is apparently considered a running joke among other ethno-nationalists. Like, he's really, really out there. And so, you know, putting up a graphic showing, hey, you know, here he is being off-kilter and kind of melting down and losing it in the wake of this whole thing because he tried to make a joke, very quickly realized it was a bad idea, and then couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. Illustrating that fact is not in and of itself offensive. Look, anybody could just go to his page. If Tim Pool had simply referred to him, couldn't they just look it up, go to his page, and see the post for themselves? So what the hell is the difference other than he put a graphic up to say, well, yes, here he is in his own words. Behold. Now, my advice, not just to Tim, but to anyone, any substantial creator, never use graphics. Because it's a bad idea. At this point, if you're going to do graphics at all, just plop an archived link in the description detailing what you're talking about, or use like a whiteboard or a chalkboard or something. Honestly, we have to go low tech because obviously, unless you are a priority creator, it is possible for YouTube's algorithm to mark something that no individual would ever notice as being, you know, problematic in any way. Mark it for, hey, this needs a strike or limited state or something. You appeal it, there still are not, I'm going to tell you, despite the changes to their system and hiring new staff, I still don't believe in a million years that there are enough people to actually look through them all by hand. Try filing a privacy complaint, by the way, at some point. Try doing that. It doesn't matter if you're a verified user, by the way. You will instantly get an email saying that no privacy violation was found. It is instantaneous, even if material has been taken from your channel verbatim, and you can match up the URLs, you will immediately get an email denying your claim. And technically, according to the way they speak about privacy complaints and strikes in general, a person is supposed to go through that. It is not possible that a person is, in less than 5 seconds, watching the whole video and sending off an email to you. It is an automated rejection system. There is no way to file a privacy complaint anymore on YouTube. You have to file an actual copyright complaint. If somebody is using your image or name or something like that, it has to fall under harassment or a copyright violation. Privacy, it's no longer policed. Hell, drug use is no longer routinely policed either. I think partially because of marijuana. But YouTube's TOS has become, the CEO, in the wake of the Logan Paul stuff, came out and responded to sort of the petitions and stuff. People are saying, remove his channel from YouTube, he's offensive, he's telling people to take Tide Pods and stuff, which is, it's like any sane person's not going to do that. If you do eat a Tide Pod, you deserve the fallout from it. They say, please remove his channel, and she comes out and says, well, we can't just have opinions about people. We have to have a system of laws in place on YouTube. Solid TOS. We can't, no opinion, no bias or anything. It has to be by the book. Well, that's not how it's working, Susan. That's not the way that the rules end up trickling down to us. Maybe him, because he's got like millions of fans, a huge audience, and he's pulling in all sorts of money, and I think he's probably like a multimillionaire by this point. Okay, with this corporate endorsements and stuff, so you're giving him that deference. What about people like myself? We don't get that deference. We're protected by the partner system, but even that now is subject to opinion. A person can now be removed from partnership without any actual violation of the TOS based solely upon sort of that vacuous, middle-of-the-road limited state style material. But it's not against your rules. You've simply decided to suppress the content. Most of the content thus suppressed is historical music from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. It doesn't even have anything to do with contemporary politics. Doesn't have to do with anyone alive today. None of the people that made that music are alive today. Most of the people that listened to it in its era aren't alive today. Most of them certainly aren't using YouTube. Yeah, I was born in 1920. Look at my snappy new YouTube channel. It's just totally swell. Doesn't generally happen. There's probably 10 people on the platform from the 1920s. There's probably only a few hundred people from the 1930s. So you have to start getting into Boomer Town before you find a reliable core audience on YouTube in the Western world. I don't know how it would be maybe in some other country. Some place where the average lifespan is 30. It's probably not happening anyway. Yes, I've got a great YouTube connection. It's dial-up. No, but Tim Pool's strike here should be reversed. That's my opinion. My fans should encourage YouTube to reverse it. You can go to his Twitter there. You can just tweet it. YouTube has multiple Twitter handles that are sort of there for the creator community, people with larger presences. Thus, have a little bit. The best defense we have against YouTube's algorithms screwing up, or against flagging rate and censorship sort of stuff from NGOs, basically, the best defense that we have is to defend one another as larger creators having a substantial enough audience to back one another. To literally field more individuals who can sort of be activists on our behalf. But the problem is you have to have multiple individuals doing that. Any single creator, no matter how large, can't defend themselves. They need backup. So that's the way it needs to work. If I see that someone who I like their content, I find it interesting, entertaining, like Tim's content. If I see them getting, sort of screwed over by the algorithm, yeah, I'm going to speak out against it, and I'm going to encourage others to do the same. But yeah, that's my feelings about it anyway. I can kind of understand the graphic involved could be construed as against TOS, but I would put it more in the limited state sort of category. Yeah, but it's not the uploader saying it, and like limited state's pointless anyway. Like they shouldn't do that either. It should just set it to 18 plus, so people have to sign in to see the material. Problem solved. All these NGOs telling YouTube, leaning on it constantly, saying, well, you need to censor this and that, suppress this, introduce this new censorship feature to protect the kids. It's not going to protect anyone. People will go around it anyway. It's not going to make any difference. By the way, you have a large creator. If you have a person with a large enough audience, and you were to take their channel down with, relatively little reason, people would go apeshit. Other creators would go apeshit. They'd have a problem with it. You'd probably make them more popular. They'd just make a new channel. Or they'll join one of your competitors and they'll have more of an audience there. They'll become sort of a rebel with a cause sort of thing. Trying to suppress stuff is not going to work. It's simply not. You can think that it's right. You can think it's a good idea or moral or protecting people. None of which is actually, objectively true anyway. But it won't work. It's not pragmatic. It's impossible for it to function the way that you want it to function. Your attempt to suppress things. Well, generally, and Tim pointed this out, well, people go after me, try to abuse me, it'll just make me stronger. Yeah, probably. Yeah, because now all of a sudden, I'm going to talk about him, and then he's going to get people from my channel that didn't know he existed subscribing him. Just as if it happened to me and he talked about it, the same thing would happen. It's great, actually. It's like a great marketing strategy. All you have to do is try to screw someone over and they grow. Well, how about that? It's amazing how that works. It's like, remember, that time when because of that glitch, my channel was briefly taken off of YouTube, along with like Keemstar and all these others. And I can't remember all of the. I think actually Miley Cyrus's Vivo channel was one of them that glitched out and came down, or some hacker group I think claimed credit for that. I don't think that was confirmed by YouTube itself. But so something happened. A bunch of channels went dead. So for a couple of hours, my channel wasn't there. Now the thing is, I was in good company with people with millions of subscribers. So the fact that I was getting injected into that really was great. Actually, for a few days afterward, there was quite a spike in subscriber numbers. It was great. Not that everything's a popularity pissing contest, but having a large audience does give you some degree of protection against censorship. Absolutely. There's a difference. I hate to tell people this in closing. There is a difference in how you're going to be treated by big tech if you have 10 fans versus having, a million fans. There's going to be a difference between the two. They think about strategy also. They're willing to bend the rules just a little sometimes. Tim Pool, though, he has a substantial audience. He's got over 100,000 subscribers. So he's not doing too badly there. But I rise to his... I encourage also people should subscribe him. Give him that boost. Make it clear, hopefully, to the NGOs and these other groups, when you attempt to censor someone who has done, really nothing wrong, they will actually become stronger as a result of your attempt. You piss people off. You make yourself look bad. I'm not really hurting them. You're hurting yourself in the process. Because remember, YouTube made it clear to all the creators, well, we're going to be very fair and very limited in implementing these things. We're looking for extremist content. I'm sorry, but if you think Tim Pool is an extremist or encourages violence or that particular graphic is going to compel anyone to become a neo-Nazi, you have lost your mind. Not going to